All right, so we're going to do the first part of lesson 4.3 today. This is going to talk about slope-intercept form, which is something that hopefully you've seen before, but if you haven't, I'm definitely going to do a good review over what it means and what it looks like. So this warm-up here, I do want to kind of take a peek at, just to kind of get a good concept of what slope is first, okay? So before we get started on the actual example, one way that people refer to slope is in the phrase of rise over run. Now, we're not going to necessarily use that because I want to put some numbers or some words with these letters, okay? So when we think about slope, and I'm going to put quite a few little notes up above here, slope is indicated by the letter M. Okay, so that means the same thing. And rise over run, that's dealing with the directions that we're going. So rise is always the Y coordinates that are on top, and run are always the X coordinates that are on the bottom. So Y's and X's need to be on the top. Y's on the top, X's on the bottom. We learned the formula for slope earlier. It's Y2 minus Y1 over x2 minus x1. You can do those in reverse if you want to, but that's just what this book goes by. The new piece we're going to add today is the directions that we'll be moving when it comes to x's and y's. So hopefully we know on a graph that y's move up or down, and that x's move right or left. Okay, so I'm going to be using these words a lot. Up is going to be in this direction. That is a positive value. So if I move up on our graph, that's a positive number. If we go down, that is a negative number or a negative direction. Right is this direction, and that's going to be positive. And left is this direction, which is negative. So this is the pattern that we're going to use a lot today. So we do need to make sure we have this written down and that we refer back to it quite often. I will write it on the slides that we actually use when we get to that, please. Okay. So what we're trying to do is identify the slopes of these different lines. The first one we're going to look at is line R. And now these are kind of hard to see, but this is line R right here. Now line R is a special line. Line R is a vertical line because it's going straight up and down. Vertical lines have a unique slope. The unique slope for a vertical line is undefined. So if I have a line going straight up and down, our slope for that is always undefined. Now, if I look at a horizontal line, that would be going left to right. Our slope for a horizontal line is always going to be 0. So those are our two special line types with their special slopes that we can refer back to. When we look at slope on a graph, and we won't actually do this piece in our notes, but I do think it's good to kind of look at and recognize what's going on. If I go and refer to line S is this line right here, okay? So line S is sloping down, so that is going to have a negative slope because it's sloping down and to the right. Line V, this one right here, that would be considered a positive slope because it's sloping up and to the right. If I look at line S, I'm going to choose just 2 points on this line. The 2 points I want to look at are this point here and this point here, okay? I picked those points because they're on the corners of those squares, so it just those work out nicely, okay? Now, using our pattern up above, we're going from one point to another. Now, if I choose to start here at this point, and I want to get to my other point, the direction I would first need to go would be down 1, 2, 3 boxes. So for line S, we're going down 3 boxes in order to get closer to that next point. From here, we're going to go right 1, 2, 3 boxes, okay? If you're not sure on your directions, this direction is right, this direction is left, this is up, and this is down, okay? So when I refer to those words and those symbols, they mean the same thing, okay? So the pattern we did was we went down 3 and we went right 3, okay? Now if I look at my little rule up above, down is a negative value. So that means that really on top I've got a -3. Right direction is a positive, so this number on the bottom would stay positive. Now, if I were to simplify this in my calculator, we would get the value of -1 for that slope. So, anytime you're working with slope, we're going to be moving 2 different directions, up or down first, then right or left. Those are going to get us more points on our line. That's kind of our big idea for today. We're not going to do any more problems on the warm-up because I'd like to get into our lesson for today, which is writing linear equations in slope-intercept form. We're going to talk about what slope-intercept form is first and then get to a couple examples. All right, so looking at slide 45, this is where a lot of our main ideas are going to come from for today. So we do need to know the vocabulary. Slope-intercept form, okay? Slope-intercept form is this equation right here. So we need to know that as well. Y equals mx plus b. Now, m is going to be our slope value, and b is something called the y-intercept, okay? Now, if you can't recall what the y-intercept is, our y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. Now the y-axis is this axis going up and down, okay? So on my graph, I'm going to be putting a point on the y-axis, the y-intercept. That's going to be my starting point, and then I'm going to use my slope to graph some more points. That's kind of our big idea for today. We need to know that m is slope and b is y-intercept because those are going to be the numbers that get interchanged. If you look down below here at this example, notice that m in this example became a -2 and b in this example became a 7. The problems we're going to work with today would say that slope equals -2 and that the y-intercept equals 7. That's the information our problems are going to give. We need to know that slope is m and that y-intercept is b in order to plug those pieces into our equation. Okay, so that's our main focus for today, is taking those, plugging them in, and then graphing them. All right, so let's go ahead and go down to this next slide here, slide 47. This is where we're going to start with our examples. Okay, before we do that, right above here, I'm going to write that pattern that we had for slope on the previous slides, but I just want to have it here so that it's easy to reference, okay? So we're either going to go up or down first for slope. Up is the positive direction, down is our negative direction. Then we move right or left. Right is our positive direction, left is our negative direction. So we need to refer back to this every time we go to count more slope points. Okay, so looking at our first example, we're going to write an equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so I want it to say y equals mx plus b for a line with a slope of 4/3 and a y-intercept of -3. So just as a reminder, slope, the letter for slope is m. So that means that 4/3 is going to be going in our m spot, And then y-intercept, that's our new one. That's going to go in the b spot of my slope-intercept form. So here we're going to take out the m and we're going to take out the b and replace them with the numbers we're given. So we'll start with y equals, we said m was going to be 4/3, so we write 4/3, and we always need to have an x here with that, okay? So the x stays. Now, it says plus b in our original formula. This is a -3. So if it's a negative number, all we're going to do is just write minus that number that's there. So that's our equation. Now we actually have to graph it. The graphing piece is what I would say is the most challenging. Now I'm going to give you 2 easy steps to follow in order to graph these pieces, okay? The first step to graphing is using the y-intercept, okay? So the very first thing we want to use is the y-intercept. Our y-intercept number is -3. This is going to be a point on the y-axis. So I'm going to place a point at -3 on the y-axis. This is our y-axis. This is our x-axis. So -3 on the y-axis is going to be right here. That's going to be our starting point. So that is important there that we keep that, okay? So that's our first step, is always using the y-intercept. The second step is going to be using our slope. I'm going to write that here because I have a little bit more room down here. Our slope value in this equation is 4/3. Your slope always has to be a fraction. Luckily, this one already is a fraction, so we should be good to start with what we need to do. Now, we're going to use our little pattern up above here. Okay, so this is really important for this piece. The 4 on top is positive, so our pattern tells us that we're going to go up for that number there. And then the 3 on the bottom is also positive. So using our pattern on the bottom, that value is going to take me to the right. So our pattern that we're going to follow is up 4 boxes, right 3 boxes. Okay? So you're going to start at this point here that we already plotted. We're going to go up 4 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to go right 3. That's where our point's going to go. So you have to go in the 2 movements before you put a new point. Now from there, again, we're going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, oops, sorry, put a point. So we're not putting points in between these, just at the end. Then we'll go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right 3, put a point. Now is when we're going to connect our lines, okay, or our points to make a line. Again, please use a ruler for this so that we have a nice straight line, and we include arrows on the ends of our lines there. All right, we're going to do one more example, and then you'll have some examples in your notes to do. Or on a practice, my bad. Okay, so again, we're going to write an equation. We got to write it in slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b. Okay, the information it gives us, we get a slope of -5. Slope is the letter m, so that's going to be replacing our m value. Y-intercept of 10. Y-intercept is our b value. So over here, we're going to take out m. And we're going to take out the b and make it whatever we've got given to us. So we'll stay with y equals m in this problem is the -5, and we always write an x right next to it. The y-intercept this time is a positive 10, so that means I'm going to have plus 10 on the side here. Now we're going to go back to our pattern, or our 2 steps, okay? So again, step 1, we're going to use the y-intercept number. In this case, our y-intercept is 10. So we're going to put 10 on the y-axis. This is our y-axis. This is our x-axis. So 10 on the y-axis is all the way up at the top of this grid right here. Now the second thing we're going to use is our slope. Okay, our slope number for this one is -5. Now in the last example, it was a fraction. We always need these to be fractions. If you have a whole number, you can do something kind of cool. You can just put it over the number 1. So I'm going to keep my negative with my 5 and just put it over a positive 1. Now we need to go look at our pattern up above here. The 5 is negative on top. If I look for my negative symbol, that one's actually going to move us down. So in this case here, we're going to go down this time first. Now the 1 on the bottom stays positive. So what we need to do is we need to go look for, again, what our pattern is when we have a positive on the bottom. Positive on the bottom moves us right. So in this case here, we're going to go to the right 1. So it's down 5, right 1. Again, we're starting at that starting point of 10. So from 10 here, we're going to go down 5 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And to the right 1, and that's where our point will go. And then we'll go ahead and do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the right 1. And then again, down 5, right 1. And then again, down 5, right 1. When you're done graphing all your points, you're going to go ahead and draw a nice straight line through those, with an arrow on each end. Now that you're done, we can go ahead and get our practice.